Hello dear learners. Welcome back to our channel where learning English becomes a powerful and inspiring journey. Today, you'll improve your English while discovering the story of Enzo Ferrari, a man who rose from poverty, faced rejection and deep loss, and still built one of the most legendary car brands in the world. This isn't just a story about cars. It's about discipline, passion, and courage. Enzo rebuilt his bombed factory twice, worked every single day, even Sundays, and wore black for decades after losing his only son. That's the kind of dedication that built Ferrari. So why should you listen? Because this story will motivate you to never give up and help you grow your English skills at the same time. Each chapter improves your vocabulary and confidence in a simple, emotional way. So listen closely and let Enzo's journey guide your English and your mindset. On February 18, 1898, during a harsh winter in Modena, Italy, Enzo Anselmo Ferrari was born. The snowstorm was so severe that the doctor couldn't register his birth until 2 days later. This small delay would mirror a life often marked by obstacles, but also determination and vision. Enzo's father, Alfredo Ferrari, ran a small metalworking shop attached to their modest home. The family lived with little. They had no savings, wore old clothes, and sometimes had only soup and stale bread for dinner. Enzo wore patched shoes and old wool coats to survive the freezing Italian winters. His mother, Adalgisa, managed the household with great care, stretching every coin to feed the family. Despite the hardship, the Ferrari home was filled with effort. Alfredo was a man of discipline. He worked long hours fixing machines, and Enzo often followed him into the workshop. There, the air smelled of oil, metal, and wood shavings. Enzo was not interested in toys. He was fascinated by tools and engines. He watched his father shape iron and fix gears. These experiences lit a fire in him. By age 8, Enzo had a unique goal. He wanted to build something fast and powerful. He didn't know the future name, Ferrari, would become legendary. He just knew he loved machines. He often skipped games with other children to spend more time in the workshop. Life in early 1900s Italy was tough for working families. Wages were low. Opportunities were rare. But Alfredo taught his sons the importance of focus. Enzo helped sweep floors, pass tools, and organize parts. Each small task taught him about responsibility and patience. In the evenings, Alfredo read from newspapers about mechanical inventions, steam engines, early automobiles, and racing competitions in cities like Turin. Enzo listened closely. Even though he had never seen a car race, he could imagine it. The roar of engines, the speed, the crowd. These moments planted big dreams in a small boy's heart. By the time he was 10, Enzo had learned the basics of mechanics. He understood that machines required care, just like dreams. His hands were already used to work. His heart was already set on motion. This was not yet the beginning of Ferrari the brand, but it was the birth of something greater. Ferrari the man, shaped by cold winters, small meals, and a belief that even from struggle, greatness can rise. In 1908, when Enzo was just 10 years old, his father took him and his brother to a motor race in Bologna. This was the first race Enzo had ever seen. The roads were dusty, the engines were loud, and the cars roared past like beasts. Enzo's heart raced with every passing vehicle. He couldn't believe his eyes. The energy, the speed, the sound, it was magic to him. After that race, Enzo was never the same. He told everyone he wanted to become a racing driver. But people around him laughed. "You are just a metal worker's son," they said. "How will you race?" Even at school, teachers told him to focus on a real job. But Enzo had already chosen his path. He started reading everything about racing. He drew car shapes on old paper. He imagined himself holding a steering wheel. He wasn't just dreaming, he was preparing. Enzo's life took a dark turn in 1916. Both his father and older brother died from illness during an influenza outbreak. Enzo was just 18 years old. He was devastated. His family's small workshop shut down. There was no money left. Enzo was forced to quit school and take any job he could find. But it was World War I and jobs were rare. Enzo joined the Italian army. He was hoping to be a mechanic or a driver. But instead, he was assigned to a mule transport unit. He moved heavy supplies across mountains and mud. He worked in cold rain and hot sun. One day, he became seriously ill with the flu and nearly died. The army sent him home. He returned to Medina weak, jobless, and full of grief. The dream of racing seemed far away. But in his heart, the fire still burned. After recovering from his illness, Enzo went to Turin, the car capital of Italy. He went to the Fiat factory, the biggest car company in the country. He waited in line for hours to apply for a job. But when his turn came, they said no. They didn't want someone with no degree or racing experience. That rejection stayed with him for life. He often spoke of it even as an old man. He said it was one of the most painful days of his youth. He walked home in the rain, broke and disappointed, but even more determined. Eventually, a small company called CMN hired him. They built light cars and gave him a job as a test driver. It was not a dream job, but it was a step. He tested cars, fixed parts, and even got to race in small competitions. He lost many races. He crashed in one of them. But he learned every time. In 1920, Enzo joined Alfa Romeo as a race driver. He was fast, but not the best. However, Alfa Romeo noticed his leadership skills. They gave him more responsibility. Enzo began organizing races, selecting drivers, and helping improve car design. In 1929, he started his own racing team, Scuderia Ferrari, under Alfa Romeo. He didn't own the cars but managed the team. It became very successful. They won many races and became popular. Enzo became respected in the racing world, not as a driver, but as a team leader and builder. But in 1939, Alfa Romeo changed leadership. They wanted full control. Enzo left the company. But they made him sign a contract. He couldn't use his own name on a car for 4 years. It was heartbreaking. He lost everything he had built under Scuderia Ferrari. Enzo returned to Medina and started a small workshop called Auto Avio Costruzione. Then came World War II. Italy was under attack. Enzo was forced to stop building cars and start making machine parts for warplanes. His factory was bombed. He rebuilt it. Then it was bombed again. He rebuilt it again. Each time, he stood in the rubble and planned the next step. His workers stayed loyal. They knew Enzo would never give up. After the war, Enzo moved his factory to Maranello, where Ferrari is still based today. The world was broken. But Enzo was ready to build. His hands were rough from tools. His heart was full of pain. But his mind was focused. In 1947, the war had ended, and Enzo finally built a car with his name, the Ferrari 125S. It had a V12 engine and was made with love. It was not perfect, but it was fast. It raced for the first time in May 1947. It didn't win, but it proved itself. The Ferrari 125S became a symbol of Enzo's life, bold, red, loud, and full of heart. Enzo didn't build it for money. He built it because it was his dream. Every bolt, every tire, every roar of the engine, it was his story. People began to notice. Ferrari cars started winning races. And with every win, the legend grew. Enzo had one son, Alfredo Ferrari, lovingly called Dino. Enzo loved Dino more than anything. They worked together, dreamed together. Dino was brilliant and studied engineering. He helped design engines. Enzo hoped Dino would one day lead Ferrari. But tragedy struck again. Dino was diagnosed with a rare genetic disease. Enzo spent every day with him, hoping for a miracle. But there was none. Dino died at the age of 24. Enzo was destroyed. He wore black clothes for the rest of his life. He rarely smiled. He put all his pain into his work. Ferrari cars became faster, stronger, louder. Each one carried the memory of Dino. Ferrari became a global name. Red cars with the prancing horse logo became dreams for people everywhere. They weren't just cars. They were symbols of strength, of struggle, of spirit. Enzo stayed away from the spotlight. He let the cars speak. He didn't attend races. He didn't go to parties. He stayed in his office in Maranello, looking out the window, watching mechanics work. That was his world. He said, "I have never truly lived. I only built cars." But maybe, for Enzo, that was enough. In 1988, Enzo Ferrari passed away at age 90. That same year, Ferrari cars won several Formula One races. The timing was poetic, as if the cars wanted to say goodbye to their creator. Enzo never saw Ferrari as a company. He saw it as his life's work. Every Ferrari on the road today carries his legacy, the story of a poor boy from Medina who lost everything but built something unforgettable. Dear learners, this was the true story of Enzo Ferrari. He faced poverty, war, rejection, death, and heartbreak. But he never gave up. He turned pain into power. He built something beautiful out of ruins. If you are facing hard times, remember Enzo. Listen to this story again to improve your English. Speak it aloud. Let these words guide your growth. See you in the next story.